Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. So this is the second part against Runinja. So let us begin. After d4, d5, c4, c6. So this was a typical Slav defense, but exchange variation style. So after c takes d5, bishop f4, you can see that I'm not doing much here. And I play this move bishop g3. Just a London idea that after bishop takes, h takes, and the rook will have an open file. So that's exactly what I'm allowed to do. After knight c6, knight f3, queen b6, I play rook b1, bishop d3, h6, a3, so nothing special here. And then I explode with the move b4. I could have also played knight a4 to go for knight c5 very early, but I played b4, queen c7. I shifted my rook over to c1, just eyeing the queen. After queen e7, knight e5, I said, okay, I want to be aggressive. Right? I want to end the game quick. Yes, I know this is not. To me, this move was definitely not sound. Like after knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight d7, you can see that white's going to have to play f4. And one thing good about f4 is that the knight is no longer on f6, so the queen can come to g4. Right, so for example, f6 is met by the move queen g4. And after f takes e5, rook takes h6, and all hell breaks loose. So that is a good thing. But after something like f5, well, maybe queen h4 or queen g6 or something random, and things would turn out interesting. But instead, after f4, now we know that black is going to play f5 no matter what, right? So then black could play a5 and just go for the queenside pawns, and I really only have pretty much one line of attack. So it's a little bit concerning, but at the same time, there's also comfort in being able to attack. So now, b5 occurs. And to me, this felt like, the knight can come here and here. I get that strategy. I think it's a great strategy. However, always be considerate of the holes you're weakening in return. So by playing b5, you weaken this square, and yeah, those squares. And I feel like those are pretty important to me. So I played knight e2. But I realized that there was f6. And in the moment I realized there was f6, I was thinking, okay, f6, queen g4. Right? But I forgot there was a knight in the way. And I had to revise my plan completely. Because initially, remember we discussed after b5, and then let's say if f6 happens, there's going to be queen g4. Right? So we discussed that. But what I just did is I blocked my own queen from going to g4. That was a terrible mistake, trust me. So after b5, I should have just played the waiting move, or I should have just played queen g4 right away. But I didn't. Or maybe I should have played queen f3. So after bishop b7, we keep an eye on that bishop. Could be. But I played knight e2, thinking that, okay, I'm going to get to d4, I'm going to get to c6. That was my goal. But after f6, I realized, I don't like it. E takes, knight d4, bishop b7 now. And the funny thing is, my pawn structure is horrible. Right? First of all, knight g4 could come. Right? So I play knight d4, allowing my queen to not allow the knight to come to g4, but at the same time was also looking to get to c6 and e5. So after bishop e7, what I considered as a logical move, I played castle queenside. Now what does the computer recommend? Computer recommends bishop d7, basically the other variation of it. Why? Well, here's the thing. Bishop d7 also keeps the f5 square at ease, because black's going to play e5 one day, right? And the knight could hop into f5, but then the bishop could take f5. Meanwhile, if the bishop is on b7, well, it's going to be stuck by this pawn, and if the knight does not move, the bishop on b7 has no future. So think about it that way. Bishop e7, castles, rook a c8, queen e2. I said, you know what? I'm going to let the rooks connect each other, and now h5. This was a move I thought was a little bit disconnected, a little bit without much intention, right? So after h5, I could play the move bishop g6. And now rook f7 was here to say, I'm here to sacrifice in exchange because this bishop is too powerful. So I said, I'll maybe take it, but I'll maybe not take it. So after rook takes c8, bishop takes c8, I bring my knight in, and at this point, this is my last opportunity of, will I take the rook or not? And ultimately, I decide not to. Why? Why would you not take a free rook? Well, it's because in my position, I evaluated in my brain that this bishop is much more powerful than this rook. So I said, I don't need material, I need positional domination. So after bishop takes h5, I was given the gift of getting my queen to h5. And after g6, I can see that, our Runinja wants to set up some sort of barrier. So I agree, and I play the move g4. And this is a dual purpose move. Number one, I want to expand. I want to prevent the rook from being able to capture. But the second intention is very sneaky. It's what is called a rook lift. So in a rook lift, the rook is going to come to f3, and the rook is going to come to h3. That's my goal. But after rook e7, made my job much easier. I played queen g6, and after king h8, I checked it again, just for tricks, because after what happened in the game, it was checkmate. But after king g8, there is knight g6 with the intention of, okay, queen fa, queen ha, or just take on e7. So I had plenty of moves here. But I could have also played, the casual rook lift as well. So there were a lot of options, but after queen h6, rook h7, mate in 1 occurred. So what was the reason I won in this game? Well, I won because, number one, I would say, for me, because it's hard to criticize this as the wrong capture, because I feel like it's logical. It's logical to keep the pawns doubled, but at the same time, the pawn on e5 does a lot to prevent this knight from entering back the game. And also, this bishop looks really clumsy. So the fact maybe taking on e5, it wasn't the best in terms of not allowing this bishop to come out. So that was one factor that allowed me to win the game. And also the move b5. It clearly later on in the game when my knight got to c6, we saw why b5 was a lot weaker than it was supposed to be. It was not the kind of, it was supposed to be the kind of move that created opportunity for black with bishop b7 and d4 and bishop g2, but it became more of a weakness than it did become a very cool move. So after knight e2, f6, exclamation mark for black, and after this, you'll notice that, okay, the move h5 was a little bit ill-intentioned, and rook f7 was sort of like an I surrender move. And obviously you don't want to do that, so I would recommend something like rook c4 and doubling on the c file. Despite black might lose this pawn, it's better to continue the play you have on whatever is left. It's always right to give a fight. Well, not literally, but it's always right to keep on fighting on the chessboard. Because on the chessboard, comebacks are possible, draws are possible, anything is possible. So don't resign until you feel like you have to. Right? So when I was younger, I used to not resign until like somebody was up a queen, or I didn't resign until somebody checkmated me. So that's the kind of strength you should have. You should be prepared to fight till the end, and that's something that is a part of me. So after what happened, the surrender of the pieces, and my decision to not take the rook, the idea of knight takes h5 gave me much of a needed boost, so instead just play something like bishop d7 and move the bishop to e8. Maybe that might help. But instead, I was given a few boosters, and after queen g6 and the tricky queen f8, checkmate was delivered, and I felt like I played a decent game. Except for the part where, I allowed the move f6. That was sloppy, to say the least, but otherwise, I felt like this was a very interesting fighting game on both sides, and if you like this game, if you like any game, if you just like chess in general, then always remember, have fun, find your opening, find your curiosity, and just stick with it, because you're gonna do better and you're gonna progress more if you find the game fun. So, I'll leave you on that note, but I'll see you next time.